some football in South Philadelphia. After a Week 1 trip to Detroit and spending most of the preseason on the road, the lights at Lincoln Financial Field are finally shining bright. Your Philadelphia Eagles welcome the Minnesota Vikings, who haven't played here in prime time since January of 2018. They're coming off of a big win against the Packers with a young wide receiver looking to give the Eagles defense a headache. Can Jalen Hurts start stacking wins, and how will the Birds spread the ball around tonight? All eyes on some Monday Night Football. Welcome to the Kickoff Show presented by Little Caesars. I'm Ella DiGiovanni here with Fran Duffy. It was a long weekend waiting for Monday night, Fran.
It's always a little bit longer when the Eagles don't play on Sunday, but we are finally here. Home opener, under the lights, Monday Night Football. Ella, let's get going. I'm excited.
Put the team on his back. That's exactly what Jalen Hurts did last Sunday. He comes into the night following opening day where the Birds had 455 total yards of offense. All eyes on QB1 here tonight, Fran.
No doubt. It's the number one thing I am watching here early on in this game, because talking with different writers and different analysts based out in Minnesota covering this Vikings team leading up on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, the number one thing that Minnesota is worried about, how are they going to contain Jalen Hurts and his legs? And so to me, I look at this and I say, okay, they're going to do one of two things, Ella. Either they're going to back their linebackers up off the line of scrimmage and play a little bit softer up front, have Jordan Hicks and Eric Kendricks kind of shadow and spy Jalen Hurts, or they're going to play with a little bit more speed on the field, get that third safety onto the field and bring him down closer to the line of scrimmage and be a shadow or a spy on Jalen Hurts. Either way, I think it's going to really kind of spell the rest of the matchup, because to me, I think you'll probably see more three safety looks here from the Vikings, and that means, well, if you're going to roll coverage down, well, now it's going to open things up on the outside. Can Jalen Hurts make them pay for one-on-one coverage on the perimeter? It's by far the number one thing I am going to be most watching early on in this game.
Jason Kelsey said last week Hurts' abilities saved us. You talk about what he did on third down, Fran. He converted on third down 10 times for 148 yards. He was blitzed on 50% of the pass plays, second most in the NFL. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this Vikings defense game plans for Jalen Hurts, because you have to account for what he does on the ground, but we're now getting to see what he can do through the air as he has these weapons all over the football field for him to get to downfield.
And that's really the big difference when I look at how the Detroit Lions played Jalen Hurts a week ago to how I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to play here tonight. When you look back at Detroit a week ago, a lot of man coverage, a lot of blitzing. And what happens when you're a quarterback, you drop back, you're feeling pressure, and you see man-to-man coverage? Well, think about it. You're going to have all the corners with their eyes on the wide receiver in man-to-man. So if they're looking at somewhere else, they're not looking at you as a quarterback. So Jalen Hurts took all of that real estate and created some big plays on the ground on third down. Minnesota, they do a little bit less pressure and they play more zone coverage. With zone coverage, you have more eyes on the backfield. How does Jalen Hurts respond? I think it's going to be fascinating just to see that chess match early in this football game.
The talk amongst the team is that no one can really get Jalen Hurts to crack. But A.J. Brown shared a little bit of insight as to what Hurts was like in the huddle last week.
Funny thing is, he kind of made us laugh in the huddle one time, and I know fans and reporters don't see that. You know, I was excited to see that, just, you know, him having like a play side during the game. So, but it was everything I imagined. You know, how he just commanded the huddle, commanded the offense. You know, demanded everybody to stay poised, and so he did a really good job. I'm looking forward to this game on Monday, because, you know, it's a first home opener game. It's a big game. It's Monday Night Football, but, you know, hopefully as a team we just try not to, like, you know, make the game bigger than what it is and just play the game, because it's another game, and then we just trying to go 1-0 this week. That's all. So regardless of it's Monday night, Sunday, or whatever, it's a game, and we trying to go 1-0. So I'm excited to see how he handle the big stage.
It was A.J. Brown's show last week, but will we see new ways to get other pass catchers involved tonight? I think that's the big question surrounding this group, Fran.
No doubt, and I think that there will be plenty of room for those wide receivers to operate. When you look at A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, anybody that's lining up outside, look at this Minnesota Vikings defense and how they play coverage. They played less press coverage than anybody in the league last week in Week 1, Ella. They played off the ball against the Green Bay Packers. Very first play of the game, Second-round pick, rookie Christian Watson. He's lined up against Patrick Peterson. Peterson is lined up 8 yards off the ball. Watson leaves him in the dust. Blew right by the former All-Pro. Peterson, still a good player, not the player he was back with the Arizona Cardinals. Watson was wide open and dropped what would have been an easy touchdown. But I think the Eagles, they can capitalize on those opportunities. If those one-on-one chances are there, Jalen Hurts showed last week he's willing to let that loose. Remember that 54-yarder he threw to A.J. Brown down the right sideline? Those opportunities are there. Over on the other side, Devontae Smith, he was also wide open on this play. I think when you look at these wide receivers on the outside, the Eagles are going to have chances here that Green Bay could not capitalize on a week ago.
Offensive coordinator Shane Steichen was asked about the A.J. Brown heavy offense last week. He said Devontae Smith is a premier player in this league. I never think in a million years he'd have a game without a catch. My job is to get the ball in his hands. So it's a great point, Fran. How will all of this look and how will it shake out? I think it's important to note that now there's film on this Eagles offense from last week. So do the Vikings come into tonight thinking, all right, our focus is A.J. Brown, and so then how do the Eagles offense adjust when you remove A.J. Brown from the equation? I don't think he's ever fully out of it. But if he is highly covered, then what does that open up for Devontae Smith, for Dallas Goedert? And then you can't forget the run game, too. They got it all. Jalen Hurts has all the options right there available at his fingertips.
And I think that's just the reality of where this Eagles offense is right now. There aren't enough plays in a game for everybody to get a ton of action. You're not going to get 10 touches for every single one of these receivers and tight ends and have a huge run game, right? You're not going to be able to do that on a weekly basis. And so I think you're just going to have to approach this on a week-by-week basis. Whatever the defense is giving you, that's where you're going to have to take advantage. And so where are these matchups going to come? Minnesota, like I said earlier, they play a lot of zone defense. I don't think that between Patrick Peterson and Cam Dantzler, you're going to see them match up. Detroit last week, they really kind of matched up. A.J. Brown on Oruwariye, and they had Jeffrey Okudah on Devontae Smith. I don't expect the same thing here against Minnesota. Jalen Hurts, he's just going to have to pick the option, pick the best matchup here before the snap, and go with it.
One thing you can't argue about Darius Slay is that he's always consistent. He provides highly entertaining press conferences, but this week he really kept the media laughing, comparing the wide receiver group to Batman.
Because y'all know y'all seeing with the dark visor, swole, and he just looked like a swole Batman. Y'all cannot tell me he looked like a swole Batman. Devontae is a skinny Batman. Quez is a fast Batman. So we got 3 Batmans on the team, but we got one swole, one skinny, one fast. No Robins. We don't got no backups, no Robins. We got no sidekicks. We got nothing but Batmans. You know what I'm saying? They boys fly. Letting it fly.
I was there in person, and it gets me every time.
Like, I get paid to offer my analysis on the Eagles. Like, he just does this on a side gig. That was better than anything I said all of last week. Yeah, there's a reason why Slay is Slay. That was just phenomenal.
The gift that keeps on giving, Darius Slay. We're going to look at the offensive starters here for the Eagles tonight. 216 yards on the ground last week, Fran. 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 coming from Jalen Hurts. This running back group is ready for another big showing here tonight.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite stats from a week ago when you look at 4 guys reaching the end zone on the ground, 3 of them averaging over 4 yards a carry, 2 of them getting over 90 yards rushing. This Eagles rushing attack, it was outstanding. It was great a year ago, and it continued right where they left off here this season against the Detroit Lions. I would expect more here against the Minnesota Vikings tonight, whether it's inside, outside, zone schemes, downhill gap schemes. You're going to get the quarterback run. You're going to get the misdirection. You're going to get all of the above with this running game, and they're going to just try and attack you wherever you are weakest up front. It's one of the things I love about this offense.
We're looking at Boston Scott right here on your screen. I spent some time with him at his locker this week, and I asked about something he mentioned during camp, which is in today's NFL as a running back, you got to be able to do it all. You have to be versatile. You have to be able to run hard, of course, but also be able to function as a pass catcher. He said that's one of the beautiful things of our room. It doesn't matter who it is. You can plug in anybody in any situation at any point in the game, and they'll be able to go in and execute and produce. He said, I think that's good. We got 3 of those. We got 4, 5 of those. And so when you think about the creativity of this offense and when you talk about Jalen Hurts' weapons, the ability to be able to throw passes also to your running backs like this guy right here, Miles Sanders, and we've seen some with Kenny Gainwell, that's so important to the Eagles' offensive game plan.
I love it because it's one of the things that I love about the way that this team is built right now, Ella, is that the coaching staff really can help inform the personnel side and vice versa of the kind of players that they're trying to acquire. If you go off what Boston Scott said, if you do a little bit of everything, well, guess what? We'll find a home for you. You could do a little bit of everything in this offense. But if you do one thing really, really well, and this is where you excel, well, in this run scheme, they've got answers for you. If you are a great downhill runner between the tackles, well, you are going to be a grinder between the tackles for us. If you are great out in space, second level, hey, we've got runs in the playbook that are going to play into those strengths. So for me, looking at this run game, looking at this offense, I talk about the versatility all the time, but that really helps the player personnel side, because now you could say, all right, well, we are the whole playbook is open for us in terms of the players that we can bring in, and that's just a symptom of good coaching, really good stuff on both sides of the ledger there from the Eagles front office and coaching staff.
Every week, Fran is joined by a coach to break down some film. This week, running backs coach Jamal Singleton joined the fold on the latest edition of Eagles Game Plan. Singleton detailed what he loved about his group in the win against Detroit.
You know, it was exciting to see guys carry the ball effectively and different guys. So it's not like you can key on one person and say, if we stop him, we can get a good thing going with their run game. Well, we had guys that showed they could carry the ball and find the end zone a few times.
Fran, I love me some Eagles Game Plan. What can Eagles fans get from this show every week?
Well, to me, it was one of my favorite tape study segments that we've ever done on the show, Ella. I thought that Coach Singleton was awesome. A ton of insight, not in just what he looks for at the position and kind of the dynamics of that room, but then also from a pure X's and O's standpoint. He made some great analogies, some great analysis there. One of my favorite moments was he was talking about that Boston Scott touchdown run, and you could see the passion on his face. He was like, this is Eagles football. And I loved that individual moment. It was just great stuff. You can go back. Honestly, you can watch this next week. It was that kind of evergreen content. You could watch it and learn a ton from Coach Singleton last week on Eagles Game Plan.
Of course, you have Ike Reese on the desk for Eagles Game Plan as well. Entertaining as always.
Yeah, Ike Reese, Mike Quick. We've got a perfect blend of analysis and levity for sure.
The conversation around involving more receivers, of course, tonight, Fran, includes the tight ends. Dallas Goedert had just 5 targets last week and will certainly be looking for more opportunities tonight. How does he fit into the Vikings defensive game plan when he's looking for those catches, but also he's a really good blocker?
No doubt. I think, look, it's the same thing talking about the receivers. Minnesota plays so much zone coverage. I don't think it's going to be a one-for-one kind of defending Dallas Goedert kind of dynamic. Certainly the safeties will be involved. I mentioned earlier, I do think that Minnesota will use more 3 safety looks. Lewis Seen, the first-round pick, they took him 32nd overall this spring. He missed last week due to a late occurring injury in practice, and so he is back here this week. I would expect to see more 3 safety looks, but for me, Ella, you hit the nail on the head. Him as a blocker, that's one of the X factors in this game. I thought the tight ends were outstanding a week ago against Detroit, not just against linebackers and safeties, but when you look at Dallas Goedert and Jack Stoll, one-on-one against defensive ends. Goedert blocked Aiden Hutchinson, the number 2 pick, who had 3 sacks this past week against Washington. Did an outstanding job on him in the run game one-on-one. So watching Dallas Goedert in this game, why is it going to be so pivotal? Minnesota gave up more explosive run plays than anybody in the league last week, 10-plus on just like 38 carries. So I think when you look at the way that Minnesota was able to give up some of these runs, a lot of them out on the perimeter in space with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon from the Green Bay Packers. So if you look at the tight ends, those are pivotal on those kinds of runs. If Dallas Goedert can have a duplicate effort to what he put forth a week ago, I think you'll see some more X plays from this Eagles rushing attack here tonight.
Back to my conversation with Boston Scott. He told me that this offensive line is the best in the league, hands down. They're a huge reason why the Birds can rush for over 200 yards on opening weekend, but we certainly saw great balance in the run and pass game. I also spent some time with Lane Johnson at his locker this week, and he said, look, we're going up against 2 of the best edge rushers in the National Football League this week in the Vikings with Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith. So it's a big challenge for Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, especially because those 2 edgers, they switch back and forth. But I think this offensive line is ready.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, I think Lane obviously nailed this in terms of his analysis of that defensive front. Danielle Hunter, one of the best in the league. He is long, he's athletic, he can turn the corner, but he can win in a number of different ways. Zadarius Smith, he's like a 6'4", 265-pound ball of fury. He is relentless, he is powerful, and he is versatile. You mentioned they like to move those guys around. I think most of their reps, you'll see Danielle Hunter against Lane Johnson, you'll see Zadarius Smith against Jordan Mailata. But one thing that really showed up last week, Ella, they love moving these guys around. They put Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith both inside. And not just, oh, yeah, we're going to line him up at D-tackle and he's going to put his hand in the dirt and go. No, those guys will stand up and move all up and down the line of scrimmage. Any given rep, pre-snap, you might see a guy lined up over center, and then just before the snap, he'll be over the guard. He might be over the guard and then kick out over the opposite tackle. Guys are moving around, and that just creates such a headache before the snap, not just for the offensive line, but for the quarterback as well. Keep an eye out there. The communication is going to be key for this Eagles offensive line. It was a big homework week.
and they got to Aaron Rodgers 4 times last week. So big task at hand for the Eagles offensive line. Kirk Cousins is 2-9 on Monday Night Football. Fran, what do the boys in the trenches need to do on the other side to pressure Cousins from the jump here?
You got to hit him, because just like noise in the pocket, I don't think is quite enough. I think when you look at Kirk Cousins, even watching him last week against Green Bay, he had a couple of throws that were really impressive with bodies around him as the phone booth was shrinking and tightening up. You really saw him do a nice job of sliding in the pocket, stepping up to avoid the pressure, create a little bit of space for himself, and then deliver the football. He did that on one of the Justin Jefferson touchdowns. So I think when you look for the Eagles defensive line, they did a great job a week ago of winning off the ball. Josh Sweat, really, really strong. You saw a number of really good reps. Marlon Tuipulotu, a couple of really good reps. Pressure, very, very important. That can lead to sacks. That can lead to interceptions. You're not getting there without having pressure. So it's important to have pressure, but I think you need to hit Kirk Cousins. I think that's something we'll see here tonight. That's going to be something you'd have to take advantage of, some of those matchups along the Vikings offensive line. Not the weak point that it has been in years past. They have a rookie second-round pick, Ed Ingram. Struggled a little bit in pass protection. That would be the guy I would kind of earmark to watch in this game. Can they get pressure against the right guard?
Well, I know 2 guys that are going to be going after Kirk Cousins tonight will be Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox. Graham now ranks 4th on Eagles' all-time list for sacks with 59.5. Fletcher Cox right behind him at 5th with 58.5 sacks. So we know those boys up front, they're going to be ready to eat tonight.
Yes, no question. I think to me, like, the defensive line rotation, that is so big for this Eagles defense and really going to keep it going, right? One of the best groups on this team. And one of the things I'll be watching for early on that side of the ball, Ella, Minnesota, I think everybody kind of looks at Kevin O'Connell and they're like, oh, well, he came from Sean McVay. He's going to play the same way Sean McVay plays. A lot of spread formations, 3 receivers, 11 personnel. No. Go back to when he was with Kyle Shanahan in Washington. They love to play in base personnel sets. You're going to see the blocking fullback, C.J. Ham, one of the best blockers in the National Football League. You're going to see a lot of multiple tight end sets. So what are the Eagles going to do to match that? When they come out in base offense personnel, the Eagles, I would think, are going to match with base defensive personnel. That means we're going to see more of the rookie nose tackle, Jordan Davis. When the Lions were in base personnel last week, that's when you saw Davis and the rest of that Eagles 5-man front. Here in this game, I would think you'll see the Eagles match up the same way when the Vikings go with heavier personnel. But I think that might play into the Eagles' hands, Ella, because honestly, when you look at their center, Garrett Bradbury, he has historically struggled against bigger, stouter, more powerful nose tackles. So when they go into those base formations, that's a matchup to watch. Jordan Davis, the big man in the middle, going up against Garrett Bradbury. If Minnesota plays that same way, expect an uptick in snaps there for the big man on your screen there, number 90.
You mentioned the Rook. Jordan Davis is ready to get in front of this home crowd. Here's what he had to say about making his debut at the Link.
Electric energy. I know the crowd's going to be buzzing. Everybody's going to be buzzing. It's our first home game. And, we're coming with a mindset to protect our turf. So, each game we want to win at home. So I definitely think that we're out here, we're going to be gunning. And, it's just going to be electric. I'm excited. I have no idea what to expect. Preseason one thing, but we get the full house and the full crowd. I'm sure it's going to be electric.
Jonathan Gannon was very excited about Jordan Davis's performance last week. He said he'll keep maximizing his opportunities. We weren't sure how much we would see of Jordan Davis last week. Will we see more tonight? We're soon going to find out.
Yeah, I think so. And like I said in that last segment, I do feel like we'll see a little bit more, but it does depend on how Minnesota wants to play. If they're going to play with more of those spread formations, 3 receivers, keep KJ Osborne out on the field, will they try and run from those looks and see if they can win some matchups that way? That will be something to watch. But when they have those base personnel sets, look out for number 90.
As we bring in the defensive starters here, oh boy, when you talk about Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson, you look right at this Eagles secondary, Fran. They're in for a big challenge tonight. Jonathan Gannon said Jefferson is a special player, but the thing about his game is that he can play everywhere. Where do you begin game planning for a guy like this? I really just don't know.
Well, we were talking about an Eagles game plan this week in the preparation leading up to the show, Ella. It was like, all right, well, what's the one-on-one matchup? The reality is there is no one-on-one matchup here. This isn't going to be as easy as, all right, well, let's slay on Jefferson, and that's the end of the day. Oh, wipe our hands clean, that's it. No, that is not how this game is going to work. They love Justin Jefferson on the outside. They love him on the inside. They love him in the backfield. He caught a pass last week running out of the flat as a running back. So I think when you look at the Eagles, the secondary, they are going to have to make sure that all of their T's are crossed, their I's are dotted. Everything has got to be right and buttoned up for this matchup against Justin Jefferson and this Vikings defense, or this Vikings pass game. I think when you look at the way that Green Bay defended them a week ago, so many of Justin Jefferson's yards came on busted coverages, and that's a lack of communication and a lack of execution. The Eagles cannot repeat those same mistakes that that Green Bay made a week ago. That is going to be so important. And oh, by the way, the guy on the other side of him, Adam Thielen, not a bad player. This is a guy that is one of the most underrated players in all of football, a technician, one of the best in the league at creating separation. This is a really tough test for this Eagles secondary.
I went to Marcus Epps this week, and I said, how much does it help you to play against guys like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith every day in practice? He said it's iron sharpens iron. We've been hearing that all through camp. But he said those dog days of summer prepare you for these types of challenges. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith have gotten us ready and prepared for a guy like Justin Jefferson. I think that's important. That's what makes this Eagles team so good, is because they're going against talent like this every single day.
Well, Ella, every single time you and I have shared a desk together over the last couple of months, we have talked about how important that is for this Eagles offense. You line up A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, inside, outside, and attack all three levels of the field. That is true versatility. The reason why it's so important, that is a pain in the butt to prepare for if you're an opposing defense. Well, that applies here for Justin Jefferson and this pass game. You have got to make sure that you know where he is on any given snap, but it's not going to just be Darius Slay on him. It's not going to just be James Bradbury. There are going to be snaps where it's a safety or it's Avonte Maddox. It might be a linebacker before the snap at any given point. You have got to be ready to make sure you are assignment sound in this game.
We're waiting for our Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro to join us in just a little bit. Before we get to Dave, what are your 3 keys to watch tonight, Fran?
To me, it goes back to the very top of the show. I talked about what Minnesota's plan will be to defend Jalen Hurts. That is number one. How are they going to account for not just him as a thrower, but him as a scrambler as well? Then you go over to this other side, I think looking at Justin Jefferson, how exactly the Eagles are going to have a plan for number 18 in this game. That is obviously going to be at the forefront of a lot of Eagles fans' minds. How do you stop him from reaching the paint? And then number 3, the tackling's just got to be better defensively. The run game, I think when you look back to a week ago, yeah, Detroit got their yards, but so many of those yards came on passing situations. It was 3rd and long, 2nd and 12, 2nd and 13, and they had a nice draw play, well executed. You just have to get off blocks faster, and you got to make tackles. I think when you look at those 3 points here in this game, those are going to be the most important. How is Minnesota going to defend Jalen Hurts? How are the Eagles going to stop Justin Jefferson? And then being more reliable as tacklers in the run game. You do a couple of those things right, I think the Eagles come out with a W here in this one.
We talked a lot about tackling in the preseason because these guys on the defense, they don't have those live reps through camp and through these preseason games. Brandon Graham said it was just week 1. No guys were making excuses. Gannon wasn't making excuses, but it's definitely something they know they had to shake the rust off. Hopefully we'll see that cleaned up a little bit here tonight.
And what's weird about it, Ella, is like going back and watching the film, I didn't feel like the linebackers had bad games. I thought Kaiser White was outstanding. I thought TJ Edwards was really good playing downhill. I think that you just had a handful of those reps. Obviously, it didn't help that you had a 54-yarder on the second play of the game where you had a missed tackle in the secondary and another guy fall down. Those are going to happen early in the season, right, as things get cleaned up. But I think when you look at the way that this front 7 played overall, especially on early downs, they stopped the run. You're going to need to do that here in this game. Minnesota with Dalvin Cook, in the past, he's been more outside, like a lot of outside zone schemes with Gary Kubiak and that offense. Last week against Green Bay, it was a lot of downhill, smash mouth, power run game, getting the fullback in there. Linebackers have to defeat blocks in this game.
With that, we now welcome in Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro, who joins us live from Lincoln Financial Field. Dave, the time has finally come. We're at the link. What kind of challenge is the Eagles defense up against here tonight?
Well, Ella, first of all, great, incredible energy here tonight, home opener, and the fans certainly are showing up with their A game to date. Now, for the Eagles defense, you guys have talked about this a lot. It is a huge task. I think the feeling with the Eagles is that interior defense really has to control the line of scrimmage and get up into Kirk Cousins. Don't let him step up in the pocket. Obviously, their trio of receivers and then Dalvin Cook out of the backfield, a formidable challenge. I mean, Justin Jefferson is just going to get some. I mean, he's just going to get some plays. Adam Thielen is going to make some plays. Don't give up the big plays and win inside and then come off the edge. And I think that's really a key. That's really where the Eagles feel that they have a big advantage tonight against the Minnesota offensive line. The interior, getting up into Kirk Cousins' personal space is a really huge spot and an area the Eagles need to dominate and win.
It takes a few weeks in the NFL sometimes, Dave, to really uncover a team's identity. How big is this game in terms of learning who this Eagles team really is and how good they can be?
I mean, we struggle at times, Ella, right, to put this in perspective. This is week 2 of the 2022 NFL season, so it's not all on the line. There are going to be a lot of things that come out of this game. You're going to go, man, the Eagles really need to work on that and that and that. At the same time, you look at the Minnesota Vikings, you go, this is a legitimate deep playoff run kind of team. Maybe even a Super Bowl kind of team. So when you combine that with the national stage, with the home opener, it is a big moment, and it's kind of a great week 2 litmus test to see how the Eagles handle things in a pressure moment after a long week with a great opponent coming in here, a team that came off a big win against the Green Bay Packers last week. A big spot for the Eagles. We will keep it in perspective, but there definitely is a little cherry on top, or rather, a midnight green cherry on top for the Philadelphia Eagles, because tonight it is very special. And the feeling here on the field at Lincoln Financial Field is apropos. I mean, it is extremely electric so far, and we're still a half hour away from kickoff.
I'm going to send you on your way, Dave. That was our Eagles insider, Dave Spadaro, joining us live from Lincoln Financial Field. He'll also join us for the post-game show, so stick around. The incredible minds behind our social media platforms left an unmanned camera on the practice field asking players their thoughts on Monday Night Football. Here's this week's Social Spotlight, presented by Pontley Hockey.
Eagles fan for Monday night. Let's go! Go Birds. Get drunk.
We don't need to say too much. It's Monday Night Football.
We love you guys, but on third downs, when the offense is up, can we please be quiet? It's just, I don't want to go on a silent cadence at home game if we don't have to. Love you guys.
I want to make sure y'all heard me the first time. It's Monday Night Football, man.
Monday night. Hey, I need y'all going crazy. I'm so excited. Let's go, man. Let's go. So crazy. I can't wait.
Kickoff Show is delivered by Little Caesars, proud partner of the Philadelphia Eagles. Order online during the Pizza pregame and get it delivered or pick up in store in the Pizza portal. Pizza. Fran, what's your Rico extra point? What do you got for us tonight?
Well, you want to talk about a little pizza. I want to talk about a little pressure here going into this game. Obviously, it's going to be pivotal on both sides of the football. But when you look back at what the Minnesota Vikings did a week ago against the Green Bay Packers, a lot of sim pressures. Let me show you exactly what I mean. What is a sim pressure? Well, there are a lot of ways for defenses to get after the quarterback in football. And obviously, the most basic way, you're going to disguise your blitzes. You're going to line up in a basic look. You're going to send someone from the second level. Sometimes you'll drop somebody out. And either way, you're sending a guy from the second level. Or you could be really aggressive pre-snap. Let's move everybody up on the line of scrimmage. Those classic double-A gap looks we expected from years past with the Minnesota Vikings. Now what you're seeing, one of the buzzwords in the NFL, simulated pressures. Get everybody up on the line of scrimmage, then drop a bunch out. It might not even be a 5-man rush. It might be a 3 or 4-man rush. But the whole goal of this is to get the offense to protect like you could be sending 7. Look at this, a 7-man press protection. You're going to keep 5 offensive linemen, the tight end, and the running back in. But then when you drop everybody out and it's just a 4-man rush, now you're winning in coverage. You have more bodies in space than the offense has receivers to go out and catch a pass. You also can help dictate some of these one-on-one matchups. That's what the Vikings did so well a week ago. I told you about moving Zadarius Smith and Donnell Hunter all around the formation. We saw it time and time again. They helped tune up Aaron Rodgers for 4 sacks. The pick, that was also a result of pressure. I think when you look at this game, Eagles offensive line have to be ready for these sim pressures here from this Vikings defensive line. Watch it, especially on third down.
Mic drop.
Let's go. I'm excited. There's so much to break down from this game.
Well done. Well, at halftime, be sure to watch Dick Vermeil receive his Hall of Fame ring. We'll be streaming the entire ceremony across all our social platforms. But that'll do it for us here on the Kickoff Show. The link is ready to rock as the 2022 Birds take the home field for the first time. Join us later on the post-game show. Myself, Fran Duffy, Ike Reese, Dave Spadaro will have you covered immediately following the game to break it all down. Eagles, Vikings, can the Birds contain Jefferson and extend Cousins' poor primetime record? Let's see what Hurts and company have in store to take this offense to the next level. Kickoff is coming soon. Enjoy the game, Eagles fans, and as always, go Birds.